Hello, welcome to my presentation. This presentation is on Chainsaw Man Part 2 and the newest chapter. I hope you're all comfortable sitting down in your seats. Please keep your postures nice and straight. We don't want no finicky stuff going on here. As well as your beverage of choice only being water. That's all we're selling today. That's all we're doing. I hope you're all comfy. It's definitely been a little bit since the previous chapter of Chainsaw Man Part 2, but here we are. So you're all ready to sit here 10, 15 odd minutes to learn and understand what this chapter is all about. That's good. I'm very glad. Let's actually get it started then. This chapter is 50% Asa, 50% Denji, in all the best ways. Yes, I said Denji, he is back and better than ever. But what really kind of builds up to this and gains momentum for the whole chapter is none other than Asa and this whole idea surrounding her identity. What she wants to be, what she wants to do, and how she's always kind of succumbed to failure while in the highest point of this climatic tension. What I mean by this is that she has kind of crippling anxiety, so much so that her performance within specific things ends up in failure. And you see this kind of collaged within here with certain things, her dropping a birthday cake, her losing a marathon, and one that has directly impacted her is the death of her mother. I would say this is comfortably where the root of her trauma actually sits. Why she has so much anxiety, why she's so nervous to begin with, why she struggles to make friends and feels like she can't connect to make friends is because of all of this. She realizes herself that her heart is in a good position, that she wants to do the right thing, yet the action that requires it is something that she can never fulfill. So she wants to do it, and she definitely does, but it always ends up in failure. Naturally, with so much of it throughout your lifetime, especially stemming from a childhood, you start to get used to that failure. You start to become comfortable with it, and I would say that it could easily turn itself into being something problematic, which is kind of a big slice of Asa's personality and her emotional vulnerability to a lot of things, how she interacts with people, why she always wants to be by herself, yet every way she speaks about things is entirely hypocritical. She wants all of these things. She wants friends, she wants a relationship, she wants to live selfishly, yet that's the hurdle, the failure that she's been so used to, the failure that continues to ripple through her life and ultimately scares her. So she's too comfortable in the fact that she's so accustomed to it and that she expects it to happen because it always does happen. What Yuko really teaches her in this chapter is very valuable is that who cares about the thoughts? Who cares about the consequences? As long as your heart is in the right place, in some way, shape or form, you will always succeed. And she wants to live by that rule. Asa thought that she was getting pitied by Yuko. That wasn't the case, and that she would rather be bullied. Yuko reconfirms this idea by saying that she just felt like it was right. The action or thought process do not matter. It's just what she felt was a right thing to do, and that she acted upon it. No ulterior motives, no this or that, but just a genuine show of compassion. That is what Asa wants, and that is what Asa wants to live by, and this gets directly challenged off the back of the Bat Devil. See, both of them are in a really bad position. Yuka has an injury to her leg which is stopping her from walking, and the War Devil Yoru is here to manipulate the situation. The way this goes is pretty straightforward. Yoru tries to convince Asa to turn Yuko into a weapon, that it would be a big thing that would actually save them from the Bat Devil, now that she would feel a little bit more guiltier about it. This is where the whole childhood, mother being killed, Yuko situation actually comes into play, and where you learn more about Asa and how she feels towards a lot of these things, towards herself, towards others, and basically what she wants to be. And this becomes a defining factor for her, because we also find out is that she doesn't feel guilty about killing Baki, but more so that she was seen doing it. In the grand scheme of her character, this makes a lot of sense. She has no connection, no correlation, no emotional ties to Baki as an individual. She doesn't show compassion the same way or naturally as others, I would say, because she's so stunted by the failures of what has happened prior. Instead, she has to build connection to an individual to really have a suitable compassion or understanding. The Bucky situation was her thinking it was a good thing, following her feelings and her heart, but ultimately it's still ending in failure. And she was upset that a lot of people seen that failure, and that instantly becomes a massive shadow over her, just like all her other failures, except this time time it is publicly acknowledged by many people, and it will constantly affect her. Every single day she goes to school, she will be reminded of it, she will get bullied of it. It's not something that just goes away. It's understandable why she felt guilty about being seen and not by the actual act itself. The failure or accident, if you will, was something out of her control, but yet she blames herself very heavily for it, just like her mother. She blames herself for that when it realistically wasn't. Her mother saved Asa just like she did with the cat. So it's the exact same thing, it's just the circumstances surrounding it were completely out of her control. She blames herself for a lot of things. This is the first time she really weaponizes it and turns it into something great. She picks up Yuko and runs away from the Bat Devil, even though it seems impossible, even though the odds are against her, even though Yoru is shouting at her, "What are you doing? Turn her into a damn weapon." She runs. And you can see the confidence brimming inside of her that this is something that has to be done if she wants to live. Faced against something so horrendous as the Bat Devil, when all the odds seem lost, she continues pushing forward. Whoa, where are you going? What are you doing? This is the small little break period, alright? It's not too long. We're only halfway through the video now. We're getting into the next stage with Denji and his introduction and how cool that is. You want to see that? This is not a bathroom break right now. You good? Comfortable? Alright, sitting back down. Nice, cool. You're not clicking off the video. It's 10-15 minutes. It's not that long. You'll be done in no time and you can move on to another presentation. How's that sound, yeah? Brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate you. We all ready for Denji now? Let's go. Here he is. Denji has returned in a way that is very similar to the original opening for Chainsaw Man's story. When I say original, I mean more so the power situation with the Bat Devil and how this whole thing kind of ends in the exact same way, or something at least very similar. There's a lot of parallels to that opening situation, which I'll get onto in a little bit. Funny enough, Denji doesn't actually fight the Bat Devil, he's fighting another devil already, which is the Roach Devil. It doesn't look like the Roach Devil, but I understand a lot of people probably have fears of cockroaches, so this makes sense that it looks like a god in some way. He's fighting this thing and it is very climatic, it's very beautifully drawn, there's a lot of artistic flair here, typical Fujimoto fashion of course, and a great reintroduction to Denji and Chainsaw Man. A lot of double panels, a lot of massive spreads and just beautiful perspectives. It's a great time, that's for sure. There's a very small, slight altercation within this fight that I think is a perfect representation on where Denji sits within society, what his concerns are, how much he's learned, what he's evolving into. All of this stuff doesn't really apply to him. So the Roach Devil thinks it does, but in reality, it's actually the thing that kind of gets him killed. He picks up a person and he picks up a car full of old people, and he brings in this morally driven question of who are you going to save? The young, thriving student or the 5 old people stuck within a car? The biggest moral dilemma for Chainsaw Man, right? Wrong. Denji does not care. If anything, he completely avoids saving these 2 people to get the upper hand on the Roach Devil, cutting off its arms, slicing it in half, and completely obliterating it on the spot. And you see the consequences of this pretty visually. You see that student now dead on the ground, and you see that car crushed and caught on fire. What he does save, however, is a very small cat. And there's something very special about this cat. I'm hoping he actually keeps it, brings it to his home, even though he has like 11 dogs and Naoyuta. This cat reminds me very heavily of Power, and more specifically, her devil form. Now, this whole situation is a parallel to the very first encounter with the Bat Devil and Denji saving Power. By the way he's holding the cat is exactly the same way as how he was holding Power, bringing her out of the Bat Devil within the earlier side of Chainsaw Man's story. This cat has the exact same markings as Power's devil. The arms, the legs, the face, and the ears or horns are all darkened. They're a different color. I think this is Denji not only recognizing this, but Fujimoto playing a very nice nod to this relationship that they have. Denji and Power are siblings, they're family, and I think this is a great showcase of him going through the wars to actually get to her, that he will bring her back in some way, shape or form, and that's going to be a big focus of his journey. For us, this is just a reminder on where his thought process probably is, that he'll go through all of this to save this very small cat just because it kind of looks like Power, just because it reminded him of Power. Makes a lot of sense with what his drive is. This basically ends off the chapter, but I like how the news station kind of claims this as an act of heroism, when in reality a lot of people have died, but he saved a cat cat from the Cockroach Devil. He's a hero. So there's a lot of praise. This might sound like a good thing, but ultimately the more praise that he gets, the weaker theoretically that he becomes. And I will say maybe it's just the perspective of this final panel, or maybe because he's not fighting or he's a bit weaker, but the chainsaw out of his head is a little bit smaller than usual. So I don't know if the praise is drastically changing him that much, or if it's just me overthinking it, which is most likely the case as usual. Why not? It will be very interesting to see how the positivity around his influence starts to negatively affect him. He's getting praised for a lot of things, for the simplest and smallest of things even, with barely any consequences. So I'm really eager to see how this is building into his ego, his emotions, how he acts at school, but also how much weaker it might actually make him. As much as the break was pretty long, I think this was a brilliant return to Chainsaw Man Part 2, to Denji, to Asa, to the whole situation. It was absolutely lovely. 52 pages as well. That's a lot. I am more than happy for Fujimoto to take breaks whenever he wants. He is now in a place, Jump Plus, that is very much accepted and allowed and even recommended for authors to publish their stories whenever they see fit. Me personally, I'm perfectly fine with him wanting to do a 2-week schedule if that was the case. But I think he's allocating the appropriate amount of time for whatever the chapter deems worthy. If it's going to be longer like this one, he might take more days off to work on it. If it's going to be shorter, he may release it earlier. All I know is that he now has the flexibility to tell the story that he wants, and all of us are obviously enjoying it, which is well and truly a beautiful thing. Lights on, please. Thank you. That is the end of the presentation. If you all create a single file, you can all leave now. Don't run, don't rush. It wasn't that bad. It was only like 10-15 odd minutes. It's okay. I expect to hear everyone's thoughts on the presentation. It's alright. Don't be scared. And I expect to see all of you that are running out, including you in the back. I see you in the next couple of days for our next adventure. Okay? Good? Alright? Cool. Bye-bye. I'm leaving too.